The message came through at 0300 ship time, breaking the quiet hum of the night shift on Helios 9. Captain Ellis Reed was not asleep when they called him to the command center. Sleep came rarely these days. "Sir, we're picking up a distress signal," said Officer Davis, her eyes fixed on the glowing screen. "It's from the Mura." Reed straightened his back. The Mura were not a species that called for help lightly. Small, with pale blue skin and 4 delicate arms, they were known across the galaxy for their peaceful ways and brilliant minds. They were also known for their fragility. Their homeworld had half of Earth's gravity and no predators larger than a house cat. "Play it," Reed ordered, moving closer to the main screen. The message flickered to life. A Mura, its large eyes filled with fear, spoke quickly. Behind it, other Mura rushed back and forth. Something exploded, making the picture shake. "This is Research Station Lumina in the Cygnus system. We are under attack by Vorex ships, 3 warships. They have damaged our shields. We cannot hold much longer. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. Our people will die." The screen went black. "When did this come in?" Reed asked. 10 minutes ago, sir," Davis answered. "It was sent on all channels." Reed nodded slowly. He knew what this meant. The Mura were sending out a wide call, hoping someone, anyone, would answer. But most ships in this part of space would turn away from Vorex pirates. The Vorex were brutal fighters who took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. But the Mura had one unlikely ally: humans. "Contact Admiral Taylor," Reed said. "Tell him we received a distress call from a council species, and prep the Thunderhead for immediate launch." Davis looked up, surprised. "The warship, sir? Not a rescue vessel?" Reed's face hardened. "The Mura didn't call for medics, officer. They called for help against Vorex pirates. We're sending the right tool for the job." 2 hours later, Reed stood in the Admiral's office on Helios 9, a mining outpost that had grown into humanity's furthest military base. Admiral Taylor, a man whose gray hair and lined face showed his 50 years of service, studied the star map between them. The glowing dot that marked the Mura research station blinked red. "You understand the delicate position we're in, Captain," Taylor said, not looking up. "The Galactic Council tolerates our presence, nothing more. One wrong move and they'll use it as an excuse to push us back to our solar system." "I understand, sir," Reed replied. "But the Mura sent out a distress call. Under council law, we have the right to respond." Taylor finally looked up, his eyes sharp. "Yes, respond. Not start a war. The Vorex started this, not us. And that's the only reason I'm authorizing this mission." Taylor switched off the star map. "The UEF's Thunderhead is yours, Captain. It's logged as a humanitarian vessel in council records. That should give you some cover." Reed nodded. The Thunderhead was one of Earth's newest ships, officially classified as a medical transport but secretly armed with the best weapons humans had developed. "Your orders are simple," Taylor continued. "Save the Mura, gather intelligence on why the Vorex are attacking a research station, and make it clear that crossing humans is a bad idea. But remember, the Council is always watching us, looking for any excuse to label us as the dangerous savages they already think we are." "We're only dangerous when threatened, sir," Reed said. Taylor almost smiled. "That's what scares them, Captain. 60 years ago they discovered our death world and expected primitive savages. Instead, they found a species that had survived on a planet that should have killed them, who had turned their harsh world into an advantage. They should have welcomed us. Fear makes for poor diplomacy. Instead, they restricted our ships, limited our colonies, and watched us like we were a disease they couldn't cure." Taylor handed Reed a data pad. "This mission is more than a rescue, Captain. It's a chance to show the Council what humans really are." "And what's that, sir?" "This time," Taylor did smile. "The ones who come when you call for help." The crew of the Thunderhead assembled in the ship's main hall. Reed looked them over. 40 men and women chosen for this mission. Many were veterans of Earth's unification wars. All knew what it meant to fight against bad odds. "The situation is simple," Reed said, his voice carrying to all corners of the room. The Mura research station in the Cygnus system is under attack by Vorex pirates. We're going to stop the attack and save the Mura scientists. We jump in 1 hour. Lieutenant Morgan Cole raised her hand. Cole was Reed's tactical officer, a woman whose calm face hid the enhanced reflexes that let her move faster than any normal human. Sir, do we know why the Vorex are hitting a research station? They usually go after cargo ships or mining operations, things with obvious value. Good question, Lieutenant. That's part of what we need to find out. Reed nodded to a tall, thin man at the back of the room. Dr. Parker will brief you on the Mura. Dr. Alex Parker stepped forward. The xenobiologist moved with the careful steps of someone used to Earth's gravity, now adjusting to the lighter pull of the ship. The Mura are primarily researchers, Parker explained. Their station in the Cygnus system is studying the gas, giant Cygnus 4. They're known for biotechnology advancements, particularly in propulsion systems. Their bodies evolved in a gentle environment. Low gravity, stable climate, few natural threats. What might be a minor injury to us could be deadly to them. In other words, Reed added, they can't fight the Vorex themselves, not and survive. What are our combat options, sir? This came from Security Chief Jordan Hayes, a broad-shouldered woman whose quiet voice contrasted with her powerful build. Limited by council rules, Reed admitted. We're authorized to use non-lethal force first, but if the Vorex fire on us directly, his eyes hardened. We're cleared to respond in kind. Hayes nodded, satisfied. Everyone in the room knew what that meant. Humans didn't start fights, but they definitely finished them. One more thing, Reed said. Engineer Cooper? Finn Cooper, a man whose grease-stained uniform showed he'd come directly from the engine room, looked up. The Thunderhead is officially a humanitarian vessel. We need to maintain that cover until the Vorex force our hand. Can you make sure our weapons stay hidden until we need them? Cooper grinned. Already done, Captain. On sensors, we'll look harmless right up until we blow them out of the sky. A small laugh went through the room, breaking the tension. Remember, Reed said as he prepared to dismiss them, the Council sees us as dangerous Deathworlders. Savages, who evolved on a planet that should have killed us. They're watching this mission looking for any excuse to restrict us further. He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. Let's show them what Deathworlders really do when someone cries for help. We don't send diplomats with empty words, we send ships, we send ourselves. The crew straightened, pride visible on every face. To your stations, Reed ordered. We jump in 45 minutes. As the crew dispersed, Reed stayed behind, studying the star map and the small blinking light that represented the Mura station. What he didn't share with the crew was one final piece of intel from Admiral Taylor. This wasn't the first research station hit in recent months. Something was happening in Council space, something that powerful people wanted to keep secret. And now humans were walking right into the middle of it. The Thunderhead's engines hummed to life, building power for the jump that would take them to the Cygnus system, to the Mura, to whatever waited for them there. Reed took a deep breath. They were ready. The ship jumped. The jump to the Cygnus system was hard. Faster than light travel always took a toll on living beings. Most species needed days to recover. Humans, who had evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill them, needed hours. Captain Reed was on, his feet immediately after the Thunderhead completed its jump. His body hurt, but he ignored it. Pain was just information, as the old Earth saying went. Report, he ordered, stepping onto the bridge. His eyes were already adjusting to the dim battle lights. Lieutenant Cole glanced up from her tactical screen. 3 Vorex vessels surrounding the research station, sir. Station shields at 30% and falling. Life signs still present inside. Reed studied the main view screen. The Mura research station hung like a bright star against the massive gas giant, Cygnus 4. It had the elegant curves typical of Mura construction, biometal grown rather than built. 3 dark angular ships, the Vorex vessels, circled it like predators. Any damage to the Vorex ships? Reed asked. Minimal, sir, Cole replied. The Mura have defensive weapons, but they're designed to push attackers away, not destroy them. Typical, muttered Hayes from her security station. The council species think every problem can be solved without real fighting. Reed held up a hand. Let's not judge them for being who they are. Dr. Parker, what's the status of the Mura inside? Dr. Parker was bent over a scanner. Life signs are stable but stressed. I'm detecting approximately 50 Mura in the central hub of the station. They've sealed themselves in, which is buying them time. Reed nodded. Cooper, status of our weapon systems? Ready but hidden, Captain, the engineer replied from the engine deck. Our energy signature shows as a medical vessel, but I can have weapons online in 20 seconds. Good. Reed straightened his uniform. Open a channel to the Vorex vessels. Council protocol requires we attempt communication before taking action. Officer Davis worked her console. Channel open, sir. Reed looked directly at the camera. This is Captain Ellis Reed of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Thunderhead. We are responding to a distress call from the Mura Research Station. Cease your attack immediately and withdraw from this system. The screen remained black for several seconds. Then it flickered, showing a Vorex commander. The alien had rough gray skin and a heavy brow ridge over yellow eyes. A series of ridged horns ran from the top of his head down his back. He wore ornate armor that gleamed even in the dim light of his ship. A human vessel, the Vorex said, his voice a low rumble. I am Commander Krall of the Free Vorex Fleet. This matter does not concern you, Earth creature. This is business between the Vorex and the Mura. Reed kept his face neutral. When a council species sends a distress call, it concerns all peaceful members of galactic society. I ask again, withdraw your vessels. Krall made a sound that might have been laughter. I have heard of humans. Soft-skinned diplomats the council keeps on a short leash. You have one medical vessel. I have 3 warships. Your position is unrealistic. Perhaps, Reed said, but I'm required to give you this chance. Withdraw now, or we will remove you. Now Krall definitely laughed. Remove us? With what? Your empty threats? His yellow eyes narrowed. Leave now, human, or we'll send your atoms back to your pathetic death world as a warning to others. Reed smiled slightly. Lieutenant Cole, target the nearest Vorex vessel's engine section. Low yield, precision strike. Target locked, sir, Cole replied, her fingers moving quickly over her tactical screen. Fire. The Thunderhead shuddered, slightly as a beam of concentrated energy lanced out. It struck the nearest Vorex ship precisely where its engines connected to the main hull. The effect was immediate. The Vorex ship's lights flickered and it began drifting. Krall's face showed shock. That's impossible. You're registered as a medical vessel. A common mistake, Reed said calmly. Now, about that withdrawal we discussed. Krall snarled something in his native language. The screen went black. They're powering weapons, sir, Cole called out. Shields up, battle stations, Reed ordered. Let's show them what a ship from a death world can do. Inside the Mura research station, Administrator Lumi pressed her 4 slender hands against the sealed door of the central hub. Beyond it, she could hear the Vorex boarding parties trying to break through. They had been at it for hours. How much longer can the door hold? Asked one of her fellow researchers, his voice shaking. Not long enough, Lumi admitted. Their security systems weren't designed for this kind of attack. The Mura had never needed them before. Suddenly, a different sound came from their communication panel. Not the harsh demands of the Vorex, but a calm human voice. Mura Research Station, this is Dr. Alex Parker of the Earth vessel Thunderhead. We've engaged the Vorex ships and need to coordinate with you. Are you receiving? Lumi rushed to the panel. Yes, this is Administrator Lumi. You came. We didn't think anyone would come. We respond to all distress calls, Dr. Parker replied. What is your situation? We're sealed in the central hub. 52 researchers. The Vorex have boarding parties inside the outer rings of the station. They're trying to break through our last door. Understood. We'll send a team to secure your position. In the meantime, I need to know, why are the Voreks attacking a research station? What are they after? Lumi hesitated, looking at her fellow researchers. This question touched on their most secret work. We've been developing a new propulsion system, she finally said. One that doesn't rely on the established hyperspace gates. It would allow smaller ships to make jumps without massive energy requirements. There was a pause from the human end. That would change interstellar travel completely, Dr. Parker said. The major powers controlling the gates would lose their monopoly. Yes, Lumi admitted. That's why our work was classified. But someone leaked information. The Voreks demanded we hand over all research. When we refused, they attacked. Dr. Parker finished. We understand. Help is coming, Administrator. Just hold on a little longer. Back on the Thunderhead, the battle was intensifying. The Voreks ships had recovered from their initial surprise and were now coordinating their attacks. They're better armed than typical pirates, Cole observed as another blast rocked the ship. And better trained, Hayes added. Sir, I recommend we board the damaged vessel. We might find answers about who's really behind this attack. Reed considered this. Agreed. Prepare a boarding team. Hayes, you'll lead. Take Cole with you. Hayes nodded sharply. Yes, sir. As they prepared to leave, Reed added, Remember, we need to show restraint where possible. The Council will review everything we do here. Hayes and Cole exchanged a glance. Understood, sir, Hayes said. Minimum necessary force. 10 minutes later, Hayes and Cole led a team of 6 security personnel toward the damaged Voreks ship. They wore light armor, not the heavy battlesuit some Council species used, but flexible protection that still allowed full human mobility. Rules of engagement? Asked one of the security team. We're looking for information, Hayes replied. Non-lethal takedowns where possible, but if they fire on us, she checked her weapon. Defend yourselves. They reached the Voreks ship's outer hull. The alien metal felt strange under their boots as they magnetized to its surface. Cole placed a breaching charge on what sensors identified as an access hatch. Ready? Hayes asked. Cole nodded. Time to show them why Deathworlders have a reputation. The charge blew, creating a perfect circular opening. Almost immediately, warning klaxons blared inside the Voreks ship. Hayes went in first, dropping into the alien corridor. The gravity was lighter than Earth standard, a disadvantage for the Voreks, an advantage for the humans. They encountered the first Voreks guards at a junction. The aliens opened fire immediately. Cole moved with enhanced speed, diving and rolling while returning fire with precise shots that disabled rather than killed. Hayes moved differently. Direct, powerful, using the lighter gravity to leap distances that would be impossible on Earth. She closed with the first Voreks guard, who looked shocked at her approach. His species relied on ranged weapons, not close combat. The guard learned too late why that was a mistake against humans. As they secured the junction, Cole noticed something on a fallen Voreks's uniform, a small insignia she didn't recognize. Hayes, she called. Look at this. Hayes examined the marking. That's not a pirate symbol, that's a military designation. Cole nodded grimly. These aren't just pirates. Someone sent them specifically for the Mura research. The question is, Hayes said as they prepared to move deeper into the ship. Who? The answer, they suspected, would change their mission completely. Captain, we have a problem. Reed looked up from the tactical display as Engineer Cooper's voice came through the comm. It had been 2 days since they arrived at the Mura research station. 2 days of holding the Voreks ships at bay while evacuating. The most vulnerable Mura to the Thunderhead. What kind of problem? Reed asked. The kind that comes with reinforcements, Cooper replied grimly. Long-range sensors just picked up 5 more ships jumping into the system. And sir, these aren't pirate vessels, these are military grade. Reed's face hardened. He turned to Officer Davis. Get me Hayes and Cole, now. Minutes later, Lieutenant Cole's face appeared on the screen. She and Hayes were still on the Mura station working with the researchers. We've got company, Reed told her. 5 more ships, military grade. ETA 20 minutes. What did you find over there? Cole glanced at something off-screen. Sir, the Mura showed us their research. It's bigger than we thought. Their propulsion breakthrough would allow small ships to jump without using the established hyperspace gates. Reed immediately understood the implications. The major powers in the Galactic Council controlled those gates. They decided who could travel where and how much it would cost. A way around that system would change everything. That explains the attack, Reed said, but not who's really behind it. Hayes moved into view beside Cole. We found something else, sir. The Mura have evidence that the Trescan hegemony has been violating Council treaties. They've been weaponizing forbidden technology. The Trescan hegemony was one of the oldest and most powerful members of the Galactic Council. They had been among the loudest voices calling for restrictions on human expansion. So the Trescans sent disguised forces to steal the propulsion research and eliminate witnesses, Reed concluded. And now they're sending more ships to finish the job. What are your orders, sir? Cole asked. Reed studied the tactical display again. We're outgunned, but we're not outthinking them. Start evacuation procedures for all Mura personnel. We're going to establish a defensive perimeter and buy time. He looked directly at the screen. And Cole, tell the Mura we need everything. They have on the Trescan violations. It might be our only bargaining chip. In the research station's main laboratory, Cole relayed Reed's message to Administrator Lumi. The Mura leader's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in her species. There are more ships coming? Lumi asked, her voice trembling. Yes, Cole replied gently. And we believe they're Trescan military, not just pirates. We need to evacuate your people to our ship. Lumi's four hands moved in a complex pattern that Cole had learned was a Mura gesture of worry. What about our research? Our evidence against the Trescans? Pack everything essential, Cole said. Dr. Parker will help you with that. Dr. Parker, who had been working with the Mura scientists, nodded. We'll use the portable data cores. They can hold all your research and evidence. As they worked, Hayes organized the security teams. The human soldiers moved with purpose, setting up defensive positions at key junctions of the station. Hayes noticed a young Mura researcher watching them with wide eyes. Is something wrong? Hayes asked. The young Mura, who had introduced herself as Tella, seemed startled by the direct question. No, I've just never seen combat preparations before. Hayes softened her tone. Your people don't have much need for this kind of thing, do you? No, Tella admitted. Our history has very little conflict. Our bodies aren't made for fighting. Hayes showed Tella how to hold a simple barrier shield. Sometimes fighting isn't about being the strongest, it's about being smart and working together. Tella looked at Hayes curiously. Why are you humans willing to fight for us? The Galactic Council treats your world with such suspicion. Hayes was quiet for a moment before answering. We remember what it was like before we united. Being vulnerable. Being prey. No one should live that way if they don't have to. Tella's expression changed to something Hayes couldn't read in the alien face. The Council calls humans dangerous Deathworlders, but perhaps they misunderstand what that means. On the bridge of the Thunderhead, Reed watched as the new ships appeared on the tactical display. They moved with precision, cutting off possible escape routes. They're hurting us, Reed observed. Captain, we're being hailed, Officer Davis reported. It's the lead vessel. On screen, Reed ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing a Trescan commander. Unlike the Vorax, the Trescans were tall and slender with metallic-looking skin and eyes that seemed to be made of crystal. This one wore an elaborate uniform with many insignia of rank. I am Commander Vex of the Trescan Defense Force, the alien said. His voice had the strange musical quality typical of his species. I am here to assist with pirate activity in this system. Reed kept his expression neutral. That's interesting, Commander. We weren't aware the Trescan Defense Force operated this far from your territory. Pirates are everyone's concern, Vex replied smoothly. I see you have already engaged the hostiles. Your assistance is noted, but we will take control of the situation now. I'm afraid I can't allow that, Reed said. We're currently evacuating Mura researchers who specifically called for our help. Vex's crystal eyes glinted. The Mura and their research fall under Trescan protection by Council Treaty. Surrender them to us and you may leave unharmed. Reed smiled thinly. No. Vex's expression didn't change, but his tone cooled. You are one vessel. We are 6. The logical choice is clear. Logic isn't everything, Commander. Cooper. Yes, sir. The engineer's voice came over the comm. Initiate Protocol Thunderstorm. With pleasure, sir. Vex looked confused for a moment. What is this protocol? Something only a crew from a death world would attempt, Reed replied, and cut the communication. Protocol Thunderstorm was a high-risk battle plan that Reed had developed specifically for situations where the Thunderhead was outnumbered. It relied on the unique human combination of careful planning and seemingly reckless action. The first stage appeared suicidal. The Thunderhead accelerated directly toward the Trescan command ship, weapons firing. Every Trescan vessel focused on this apparent kamikaze run. What they didn't notice was a small shuttle leaving the Thunderhead's bay, using the battle as cover. On board were Hayes, Cole, and a team of their best people, along with Dr. Parker and the most critical Mura researchers and their data. As the Thunderhead drew fire, the shuttle slipped through a blind spot in the Trescan formation. Their destination, the far side of the gas giant, where they could use its radiation belt to mask their presence while implementing the second phase of the plan. Meanwhile, Cooper had modified the Mura station's atmospheric scrubbers to create a plasma dispersal cloud. When activated, it created a massive energy field that disrupted sensors and communications. In the confusion, several more shuttles escaped from the station, each headed in different directions. Reed felt the Thunderhead shudder as it took heavy fire. The ship was tough, built by people who understood survival against bad odds, but it couldn't take this punishment forever. Sir, Davis called out, her voice tense. Engine 3 is failing. Hull breach on decks 4 through 6. Reed gripped his command chair as another blast rocked the ship. Stay the course, officer. The plan is working. On the screen, he could see the confusion spreading through the Trescan formation as their sensors failed to penetrate the plasma cloud. Several ships were breaking formation to chase ghost targets. Then, disaster struck. A direct hit on the Thunderhead's main power coupling caused a cascade failure. The lights on the bridge flickered and died, replaced by the dim red glow of emergency power. Status, Reed called out. Main power down, Davis reported. Weapons offline, shields at 10%. Another hit sent Reed flying from his chair. He felt something crack in his chest as he slammed into a bulkhead. Pain exploded through his body, but he forced himself back to his feet. Cooper, he gasped into his comm. Status of the evacuation shuttles? Hayes and Cole's shuttle is clear, sir, Cooper replied, his voice barely audible through the static. They've reached the radiation belt, but I'm cut off with a group of Mura civilians in Section D. We can't reach the last shuttle. Reed tried to think through the pain. The plan was falling apart, and to make matters worse, the tactical display showed a new group of ships entering the system. Sir, Davis said, her face pale in the emergency lighting. Those new signals, they're Council peacekeepers. Reed felt his consciousness fading as the pain in his chest intensified. The last thing he saw before blackness took him was the symbol of the Galactic Council peacekeeping force appearing on the damaged view screen. Their mission had just become even more complicated. Lieutenant Cole stared at the tactical display in the shuttle's small command center. The situation looked hopeless. The Thunderhead was badly damaged, Captain Reed was injured, and Council peacekeepers had arrived, likely to side with the Trescans, who had powerful voices in the Galactic Council. We need to implement scatter protocol, Cole said firmly. Hayes looked up from checking her weapons. With the captain down, that makes you acting commander. Your call. Cole nodded. 6 months ago, she might have hesitated. But humans from Earth learned quickly or they didn't survive. Scatter protocol it is. Break our forces into smaller units. They can't catch what they can't track. Dr. Parker, who was helping the Mura scientists organize their data, joined them. The Mura have something that might help us. Their biology allows them to see energy patterns that are invisible to most species. How does that help? Hayes asked. They've been studying Trescan ships, Parker explained. They found a weakness in their shield technology, a fluctuation, point that appears every 87 seconds. Cole's eyes widened. That could change everything. If we time our attacks to that fluctuation, we might have a chance, Hayes finished. She looked at the huddle of frightened Mura researchers. But we need to get these civilians to safety first. Cole made a quick decision. Hayes, take your best team and use the environmental suits to cross open space. Board the Trescan command ship and disable their communications. We need to stop them from coordinating. Hayes gave a sharp nod. A stealth mission. Risky, but we've done worse. Meanwhile, Cole continued, I'll contact Engineer Cooper. If he's trapped in Section D of the station with Mura civilians, we might be able to use that to our advantage. In the damaged Section D of the Mura station, Engineer Cooper was using everything he'd learned on Earth to keep himself and 12 Mura civilians alive. The section was running on emergency power, atmosphere was leaking, and Trescan boarding parties were trying to cut through the sealed doors. His comm crackled to life. Cooper, do you read me? This is Cole. Reading you, Lieutenant. Cooper replied, relief evident in his voice. We're in a tight spot here. I have an idea, Cole said. How structurally sound is your section? Cooper looked around at the damaged walls and exposed wiring. Not very. Why? Could you turn it into a bomb? Cooper smiled slowly. Few species in the galaxy would even think of such a plan, but humans from Earth were used to turning disasters into advantages. Give me 30 minutes, Cooper said. On the Trescan command ship, a small breach appeared in an unused maintenance hatch. If anyone had been watching, they might have seen the metal glow red for a brief moment before a perfect circle melted away. No alarm sounded. The Trescans, confident in their superior technology, had focused their security sensors outward, not inward. Hayes and her team, wearing environmental suits that let them cross open space between ships, slipped inside. For most species, such a maneuver would be suicidal. The radiation, the cold, the vacuum, any one of these would kill a being not evolved on a death world. But humans had always been good at surviving what should kill them. Maintenance shaft, secure, Hayes whispered into her suit comm. Moving to central communications. Her team moved like shadows through the alien vessel. When they encountered Trescan crew members, they used quick, non-lethal takedowns. The Council would review everything later. Better to avoid unnecessary deaths. As they approached the central communications hub, Hayes consulted the ship schematic that the Mura had provided. 2 guards at the entrance, standard procedure, she signaled to her team. In perfect synchronization, they moved around the corner. Before the Trescan guards could even raise their weapons, Hayes and her team had them secured and unconscious. We have 8 minutes before they detect the communication hub is offline, Hayes said. Let's make them count. Back on the Thunderhead, Captain Reed awoke to pain and the sound of alarms. Dr. Lee, the ship's medical officer, was bending over him. Easy, Captain, Dr. Lee said. You have 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung. The autosurgeon repaired the worst damage, but you need to stay still. Reed pushed himself up anyway, gritting his teeth against the pain. Status report. Officer Davis, who had been standing nearby, stepped forward. The Thunderhead is operating on emergency power. Weapons and main engines are offline. But sir, Lieutenant Cole has implemented scatter protocol. Good, Reed managed to say. And the Council peacekeepers? Their commander, Arbiter Giral, has been trying to contact us. He's demanding all parties stand down. Reed smiled grimly. Arbiter Giral was known throughout the galaxy as incorruptible. He followed Council law to the letter. That could work. In their favor if they had evidence. Open a channel to Arbiter Giral, Reed ordered, and get me Cole. Arbiter Giral, Reed said, his voice stronger than he felt. This is Captain Ellis Reed of the Thunderhead. We are responding to a distress call from the Mura research station. The Arbiter's face filled the small emergency screen. He was a Vanthi, one of the oldest species in the Council, tall and thin with skin like polished wood and eyes that had seen centuries pass. "Captain Reed," Joral said, his voice precise and formal. "I have reports of unauthorized combat in a protected system. The Trescan commander informs me that you have interfered with a legitimate security operation." "The Trescans are lying," Reed said bluntly. "They attacked the Mura station to steal research and eliminate witnesses to their treaty violations." Joral's expression didn't change. "Those are serious accusations, Captain. The Trescan hegemony is a respected member of the Council." "We have evidence," Reed replied. "The Mura documented Trescan violations of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They're developing forbidden weapons technology." At that moment, Lieutenant Cole's face appeared on a split screen. "Captain, we're executing the counterattack now. Hayes has disabled the Trescan command ship's communications. Cooper is converting Section D of the station into an explosive device." Joral looked alarmed. "An explosive device? Captain, this goes against all Council protocols for—" "No civilians in danger, Arbiter," Reed cut in. "Cooper evacuated all Mura from that section, and we're only targeting Trescan military vessels that attacked a peaceful research station." He looked directly at Joral. "While you decide who's following Council protocols, we're saving lives." Reed nodded to Cole. "Execute the plan." The next 10 minutes saw a coordinated attack that would have impressed even the most seasoned military commanders. First, Hayes' team overrode the Trescan command ship's communication array, sending false orders to the other vessels. 2 Trescan ships moved out of formation, leaving gaps in their defense. Then Cooper detonated his improvised explosive, the entire Section D of the Mura station. The blast created a massive debris field that disabled 2 more Trescan vessels, their hulls punctured by high-speed fragments. Meanwhile, Cole's shuttle, guided by the Mura scientists' knowledge of Trescan shield fluctuations, fired precisely timed shots at the Trescan flagship's propulsion system. The shots slipped through the momentary gaps in the shields, disabling the main engines. On his peacekeeping vessel, Arbiter Joral watched in astonishment. Humans were supposed to be dangerous, yes, but this level of coordination against superior forces was unprecedented. Even more surprising, they were being careful to minimize casualties. The attacks targeted systems, not crew quarters. The debris field had been directed away from the station's inhabited sections. As Joral was considering this, his communication officer turned to him. "Arbiter, we're receiving data packets on an obscure frequency. They appear to be from the Mura research station." "Display them," Joral ordered. The screen filled with technical data, research notes, and surveillance recordings, all documenting Trescan violations of Council treaties. The evidence was clear and damning. Joral's wooden face hardened. "Contact the Trescan commander. Inform him that his vessels are now under Council jurisdiction, pending an investigation." Reed watched the tactical display as the peacekeeping vessels moved to surround the remaining Trescan ships. Despite the pain in his chest, he smiled. Against all odds, they had created an opportunity. The Mura were safe. The Trescans were exposed. The Council would have to acknowledge that humans, for all their dangerous reputation, had acted honorably. But as Reed was about to contact Cole to congratulate her, alarms blared again. Something was happening on the Trescan command ship, an energy surge unlike anything their sensors had seen before. "What is that?" Reed demanded. Officer Davis looked up, her face pale. "Sir, the Trescans have activated some kind of quantum device. It's creating a space-time distortion that's expanding rapidly." "Get me Cole and Hayes," Reed ordered. "Now." The Trescan commander had one final devastating card to play. If he couldn't have the Mura research, no one would. The quantum device on the Trescan command ship pulsed with unnatural light. Every sensor on the Thunderhead screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to warp around the device. "What are we dealing with?" Reed demanded, fighting through the pain of his injuries to stand at the command console. Officer Davis studied the readings with growing horror. "It's some kind of space-time collapse device, sir. The Trescans have activated forbidden technology. It's creating a distortion that will..." Expand and destroy everything in this system within hours. Reed's face hardened. Can we shut it down remotely? Negative, sir. The quantum field is already disrupting our systems. We'd need to physically remove the device from normal space. Reed opened a direct channel to all human personnel. This is Captain Reed. The Trescans have activated a doomsday device. We have hours before it destroys this entire system. I need options, people. This is what we train for. Throughout the scattered human forces, the message was received with the grim determination unique to those born on a death world. Humans didn't panic in the face of extinction. They planned. On her shuttle, Lieutenant Cole immediately contacted Hayes, who was still aboard the Trescan command ship. Hayes, can you locate the quantum device? Already on it, Hayes replied, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. It's in the central engineering section. Security is heavy and the quantum field is growing. Normal barriers won't contain it for long. Cole glanced at Dr. Parker, who was working frantically with the Mura scientists. Can the Mura help us understand this technology? Administrator Lumi stepped forward, her large eyes reflecting the emergency lights. This is Trescan forbidden technology. The same violations we documented. It creates a quantum singularity that will collapse this region of space. It cannot be deactivated once started. Then we need to remove it from normal space entirely, Cole concluded. That would require a one-way trip, Dr. Parker said quietly. Someone would have to pilot a vessel carrying the device beyond the system boundary where the collapse would be contained. A heavy silence fell over the shuttle. In Section C of the damaged research station, Engineer Cooper received the captain's message while working to repair a shuttle for the remaining Mura civilians. A quantum collapse device, he muttered. That's just cheating. But his mind was already racing. The Mura's experimental propulsion research might offer a solution. If they could modify a shuttle to contain the quantum effect temporarily. Cooper opened his comm channel. Captain, I think I have an idea, but I'm going to need help from our Mura friends. On the Thunderhead, Reed coordinated the desperate plan while Arbiter Jiral's peacekeepers evacuated the remaining civilians from the research station. This is against all council protocols, Jiral protested when Reed explained their intention to send a modified shuttle carrying the quantum device beyond the system boundary. We should evacuate immediately. That's the difference between us, Reed replied, his voice hard. When people cry for help, you send regulations. Deathworlders send ships. Jiral's ancient eyes studied Reed for a long moment. You would sacrifice one of your own to save this system? To save the Mura? To stop the Trescans from getting away with mass murder? Yes. Reed turned away from the Arbiter. It's what humans do. The plan came together with desperate speed. Cooper modified a shuttle with parts from the Mura's experimental propulsion system, creating a vessel that could temporarily contain the quantum effect. Hayes and her team would secure the device, and Cole would coordinate the transfer. There was one final question. Who would pilot the shuttle on its one-way journey? Reed ended the debate before it began. I'll do it. Sir, you're injured, Cole protested. I should... That's an order, Lieutenant. Reed cut her off. You're needed to get our people home. No one argued further. On a death world like Earth, leadership meant being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. The operation to secure the quantum device was more dangerous than any mission Hayes had ever led. The Trescan crew fought desperately, and the expanding quantum field caused equipment failures and unpredictable gravity shifts. Yet the humans pushed forward. Their bodies, evolved to survive Earth's punishing conditions, adapted to the changing gravity. Their minds, trained to find solutions in deadly situations, anticipated each new challenge. When they finally reached the central engineering section, Hayes saw the device. It pulsed with sickly light, distorting the air around it. Containment. Team, move in, she ordered. Remember your training. Don't look directly at the quantum field. Their specially designed container, built with Cooper's modifications, barely held the device. But it was enough to transport it to the waiting shuttle. Reed sat in the pilot's seat of the modified shuttle, reviewing the simple flight plan. Take the quantum device beyond the system boundary. Activate the final containment sequence. Accept the inevitable. Captain. Reed looked up to see Administrator Lumi standing in the shuttle doorway, several Mura scientists behind her. You should be evacuating with the others, Reed said. We have modified your plan, Lumi replied. She held up a data crystal, our complete research. We want you to have it. Reed looked at the crystal in confusion. I don't understand. Your engineer Cooper and our scientists worked on something else while preparing this shuttle, Lumi explained. A modified version of our propulsion system. It might create an escape window, a very small chance, but a chance. Behind her, a Mura transport appeared on the view screen, approaching the shuttle bay. We have adapted our biotechnology to withstand the quantum effects temporarily, Lumi continued. When the containment field begins to fail, our transport will attempt to retrieve you. Reed stared at the Mura in disbelief. You would risk your lives for this? After everything that's happened? Lumi's 4 hands formed a gesture that Reed had never seen before. The Council calls humans dangerous Deathworlders. We now understand what that truly means. Not that you value life less, but that you value freedom more. The final moments came too quickly. The shuttle launched with Reed, piloting and the quantum device secured in its modified containment field. Hayes and Cole led the remaining human forces to the evacuation vessels, while Cooper finished repairs on the Thunderhead's essential systems. Arbiter Joral, having seen the evidence against the Trescans and witnessed the humans' selfless actions, ordered his peacekeepers to assist with the evacuation instead of impeding it. Reed guided the shuttle toward the system boundary, watching the countdown on the containment field. It was failing faster than expected. The quantum effect was growing, stronger. As the field strength dropped to critical levels, Reed prepared for the end. He had done his duty. The Mura would survive. The truth about the Trescans would reach the Council. Then a strange ship appeared on his sensors, the modified Mura transport. It matched his course, extending a biomechanical docking tube that seemed to push back against the quantum distortion. Captain Reed, Lumi's voice came through the crackling comm. Prepare for emergency transfer. What followed was a desperate race against physics itself. As the containment field collapsed, the Mura transport's biotechnology created a temporary, safe corridor. Reed abandoned the shuttle seconds before the quantum effect engulfed it completely. The transport accelerated away, its engines straining against the growing distortion. They barely escaped the event horizon, as the shuttle and the quantum device disappeared into a collapsing pocket of space-time. 1 month later, the repaired Thunderhead prepared to depart from the new Mura research facility, established in a neighboring system. On the observation deck, Reed stood with Administrator Lumi, watching as Mura ships and human vessels prepared for a joint expedition. The Council has acknowledged the Trescan violations, Lumi said. Some restrictions on human activities have been eased. And your propulsion research? Reed asked. Being shared with all species, Lumi replied. No more monopolies on interstellar travel. Reed nodded with satisfaction. The mission had accomplished more than they had hoped. And something else had changed too. The way the Mura looked at humans. Other species still fear humans, Lumi observed. But now they understand something important about dangerous Deathworlders. What's that? Reed asked. That they are dangerous not because they value life less, but because they value freedom more. Reed watched as the joint fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. They call Earth a death world, he said quietly. But it taught us something important about life. What's that? Lumi asked. That it's worth fighting for, especially when it's not your own. As the ships jumped away, news of what had happened in the Cygnus system spread throughout the galaxy. The story grew with each telling, becoming almost mythical. How humans, the dangerous Deathworlders from Earth, had risked everything to save a peaceful species they barely knew, and a new wisdom began to take hold among the stars. When facing crisis, pray the response comes from the dangerous Deathworlders of Earth, because they don't just send help. They send ships,